just a little bit of sales training will set you apart.
Hey guys, welcome back to this episode. On this show, I have another very special guest with me, Quinton Comino with Home Nation. I'll get it right here. I just messed up his last name. That's the way I do a retake. So we'll get through this some way or another.
For sure.
Quinton, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on here, man.
Yeah, I was super excited, man. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to just dive in. And anything that has to do with housing, construction, sales, business, I mean, I love all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Same here. So give us just a quick overview of what you do, what company, what Home Nation does, what you do, just kind of a 30,000 foot view.
Yeah, sure. So Home Nation, my parents own the company, Paul and Roxanne Comino, and I sort of run everything. And my father is somewhat of the visionary, and then I execute. It's like that book, Rocket Fuel, right? You have the visionary, and then you have someone who actually has to integrate it. And that's what I do, whether I want to be or not. That's what I do. And some ideas work, some of them don't, but that's okay. That's just how it is. We sell mobile homes online. We are different from your local typical dealership in that we operate across the entire United States. Your typical dealership operates in a 100-mile radius, and they're only doing mobile homes in that 100-mile radius. That's it. And they're handling the whole job in a lot of cases. What we do, we ship homes factory direct, and we put customers in contact with local contractors who will take care of the rest of the work. So when the home arrives from us, it's on tires and axles. We don't build the home. We're just shipping the home from the factory directly to the customer. So if you go to our website, homenation.com, you put in your zip code, and you'll see pricing for whatever home you're looking at delivered to your lot. Most other dealerships, they don't even have pricing at all, let alone pricing with delivery. So we have that different, unique sort of selling position there where we provide our homes priced with delivery already down to your zip code. And then we help you get in touch with those local contractors to build your foundation, install your home, plumbing, skirting, AC, electric, steps, all that sort of stuff. And that way they work directly for you, and there's no middleman markup. You're going to save that money by working directly with them. Your typical dealer, remember that 100-mile radius? They have people they work with in that area. They know this guy's going to charge them $3,500 for a new 200-amp electric meter pole connect to the home. So he says, hey, customer, you want to buy this home? You get all the details. Instead of charging what that contractor's charging them, they're going to upcharge it, and they're going to charge you $4,500. But all you have to do is make that phone call to the electrician and tell them, hey, I need this connected, and they'll do it. So we empower those homeowners to be a little bit of a DIY homeowner. They can save money by just making those couple of phone calls. Not every homeowner fits for that, and that's totally fine. But we find that there are tons and tons and tons of homeowners who are more than willing to put in a little bit of that work making calls to save, and not kidding, tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
So I'm looking at your website here, and I see one here. It's $101,277. I know that's delivery included, but it does not include any of the additional work.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on here was, one, there is an opportunity for anybody listening to, get connected with you, because you can, recommend people, I'm assuming.
Yes.
If there's an electrician in, say, Dallas, Fort Worth area, can they get on your list? Like, can they contract you and be like, hey, we just want to be on your list? Absolutely,
yes. So we have a great question. So we have a contractor list, and that's not public because it's kind of coveted, to find those contractors. Not everybody has all their information online. Most contractors don't even have a website. So we have our own contractor list that we keep in-house. If you call me, you need an installer in Indiana, I already know who I'm going to use. You need someone in Florida? Okay, are you Central Florida, North Florida, South Florida? I've got someone for all those locations. Colorado? Yeah, I have someone for you. Are you in the mountains? I've got someone for you. Anywhere that we don't have someone, we go out and we'll find those contractors. And having anyone who would be listening to this who's in the industry, if they reached out and said, hey, I do these sorts of things in this area, absolutely, we would add them to the list. We have a construction consultant team, and so they work on that every day. They're working with the salespeople, building out that list, making sure we have things accurate, helping source new contractors, middle of nowhere, Minnesota, Washington State, all that sort of stuff. We absolutely make sure that we have an up-to-date list with contractors so that our customers have someone to do their work when they need it.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons was like it's an opportunity. If you're listening to this and you're a sub or you do a specific trade, you might be able to get some work out of it. Build relationships with Home Nation. I asked you earlier. I was like, before we started, I was like, what about like a remodeling contractor? They're not doing foundation work or electrical whatever for like a new install. And you said, well, sometimes people like absolutely hate the bathrooms and they'll buy a new home with the intention of completely gutting and redoing the bathroom.
Yeah. So because our homes are so affordable, one of the reasons, just real quick, like our homes are so affordable because we're selling a lot of them. We are kind of a high volume dealer, way more than your typical dealer is doing. We've sold to thousands of customers. And so because of that, we have things pretty dialed in. I don't have to make as much money on each deal. I'd rather make a little money on a lot of deals than a lot of money on a few deals, right? And so we're able to provide homes at a very affordable price. So we'll have customers come to us and say, hey, I really love this home. But that bathroom, man, that's just a really basic bathroom. Because we have a lot of entry level type of housing, you might say. We have some fancy stuff, but you get what you pay for. If you want a fancy bathroom, you're going to pay for it. But they're really attracted. I love that price for that home, $101,000, 1,500 square foot home, whatever it is, right? And they say, I really want that, but I just don't want this bathroom. We'll just tell them just up front, hey, if you buy this home, you're going to save so much money. It's going to be worth it for you to just tear out that bathroom and put in what you want. Do the tile walk-in shower. Do the big jacuzzi tub. It's going to be worth it with the amount of money that you're saving. And that's not sales talk, right? That's not BS. We've had customers actually do that because it saved them so much money. They looked at the numbers, they got quotes, and they bought the home and then replaced the bathroom.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I mean, you wouldn't think about that, but I'm looking at your website. Like I said, there's, you have modular homes, mobile homes. Here is a double wide modular for 101,000, 1,100 square feet. I mean, that's pretty inexpensive considering like the average home price is like $300,000-$400,000.
Yeah. And you think about your site work costs and your property value, like you got a lot of room to work there before you're even in the range of what you'd have to pay. So mobile homes, it's affordable. That might not be the term people use as much anymore. They might say attainable housing. That's more of like, I don't want to say PC, but just more a term that's more recognized. But it's something that people can actually pay for. And when someone comes to us to purchase a mobile home, it's not necessarily because they want to, not that they have anything against it, but it's because that's all they can afford. So, hey, I can't pay for a $400,000 house. I'd love to have a house with a nice bathroom and a great living room and a beautiful kitchen island, that I can't pay for that. All I can afford is a mobile home. Great. So we provide fantastic value, which will then allow those customers to do some of the things that they want to after the fact. Replace that kitchen island. Get some nice light fixtures. You don't like the front door? Get a different front door. And we actually have customers do that.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's, it's definitely more affordable than building a new home. And, I'm sure you get people too that are like, they want to live out in the country, and they buy 50 acres and they throw a modular home on there, even if it's temporary. Like, hey, we're going to live in this until we build our dream home in 5 years.
Yes. Yeah, we have that a lot. So, it's not infrequent actually. So there's a couple differences real quick. The modular homes versus mobile homes versus manufactured homes. 3 different things, but it can be kind of interchanged. So a lot of times customers will call us and they'll say, hey, I really like that modular. So we'll ask them, well, do you mean double wide? Do you mean, is that what you, oh, yeah, the double wide, that's the one that I want. So a mobile home technically is like something that was built prior to, I believe it was 1976, when HUD, Housing and Urban Development, they made a code change. Might have been 1972, can't remember exactly. They made a code change because they realized we need to have some regulation on how these things are being built. Because mobile homes have a bad rap, and unfortunately for a good reason, they weren't built to the best standards. But then they make this change and they say, all right, we're no longer calling these mobile homes, we're calling these manufactured homes. And that was back in the 70s, and the term has never stuck. Mobile homes has been the term ever since the inception. So mobile home is going to be something like a single wide or a double wide. Sometimes people will use the term manufactured home. Then a modular home, that's built to IRC code International Residential Code. That's different. So that code's going to be different from Tennessee to Kentucky to Colorado to California. Those are going to be different building codes. And it's in a single wide or a double wide, which is a mobile home, that's not going to be zoned to go on a property that's zoned for a modular home in a lot of instances. Two separate codes. When you look at it from the outside, you really can't tell much of a difference, but just the way that it is, whether we think it's right or wrong, those are kind of two different codes. So then to like a hunting cabin that you're saying there, or excuse me, a temporary housing, what customers will do also for hunting cabins, they'll come to us and say, hey, I don't need anything fancy. It's me and my wife, maybe we have a couple kids, what have you, and we're building our own house. I need 800 square feet. We're going to be in here for 1 to maybe 2-3 years, depends. And we'll provide that for them. That's, you really, short of living in a shed, you really can't get more affordable than some of the houses we have on there. I mean, we have houses in the 30s and 40,000s, and now they're small. Like you'd be like a 14, 36, something like that. But when it comes to bang for your buck, you just can't beat that. You really cannot beat that. Put that on your property, live in it for a bit while you're building your house, or have it as a hunting cabin. Like I said, short of living in a shed, you can't find something more affordable.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I are, not like right this second, but our plans are to buy some property, live on it, build a garage, apartment, the whole thing. But the process is like, hey, we're going to live in our camper, right? Like we would live in the camper and then maybe build a garage with an apartment in it and then live in that. And then in a few years, build our dream home type stuff, that kind of scenario. But I mean, it's tempting to be like, why don't we just get a modular home?
Yeah.
Put it on there instead of living in a camper, you know what I mean? And kind of look at that from a different angle. So that's interesting, especially for, like I said, under, just over $100,000 for a 1,100 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I mean, that's a lot bigger than my camper.
Yeah, that's a lot bigger. That's for sure.
So, okay. The other reason I wanted you to come on here and talk to you was really how you've systematized your business, right? Because you've put a lot of things in place with your sales teams, with, like you said, you have coordinators for the contractors. Let's dive into that a little bit. Start kind of in the beginning of like how you guys, when you first, not the very beginning, but like when you started selling internationally, like not internationally, when you started selling across the nation, how did you, was it just you and one other guy? Was it one person answering the phone? Kind of start from the beginning of how you've developed that.
So we started in Indiana, and that's kind of RV capital of the world. A lot of manufacturers out there for RVs and for manufactured housing, modular houses, single wides, double wides, all of that. So huge area for that. Makes sense to start there, right? So we start selling homes in Indiana, and we have always been like a tech first kind of company. And we were one of the very first dealers to put our homes online and put prices online. And then we decided, we want to be different than everybody else. I don't want to do the typical mobile home dealer because I want to sell across the entire United States. If I want to sell across the entire United States and I want to do it quickly, I'm not going to be able to do it if I have to go and dig every single foundation. That's just not going to work. So we realized that we need to sell a different type of product in a different type of way, which means we're finding a different type of customer. And there are not a ton of customers who are going to be okay with running their project. They'll see that as I can't do it. Now, with that said, we've had everyone from single mothers to grandparents to couples to first-time home buyers in their 20s, not married, single people. We even had a World War II veteran. We actually even had a blind person run their own job. So a lot of times people can be, they think it's more than it will actually take to run their job. But when you break it down, it's not too complicated. And I can get into that a little bit more. But getting to what you're saying here, how did we systematize things and how did we grow? We realized we need to get a lot of people into our website, get a lot of traffic, and tell them up front, here's what we do. And if they agree with it, okay, great. Let's get you in touch with a home specialist, and they're going to go ahead and make sure you find the right home for your property. We started off in the surrounding states of Indiana, started advertising in those states to get some of that website traffic. We opened up a location in Brazil, Indiana. We had a location up in Elkhart, Indiana. Then we have a location in Ohio, Now we have a location, three locations actually down here in Florida. One of them we primarily store homes on. We have a location in Tennessee. We have one in Wyoming. We're looking at opening up a couple more out west. So slowly adding these locations has been really crucial to some of our growth, where we have that central, hey, we exist in this place. Because people don't really feel comfortable. If you're completely virtual, people are not terribly comfortable with that. Even though I know we're legitimate and I know that we're going to do what we say we're going to do, people aren't super comfortable. But if they know you have a physical location, that makes such a big difference. If they know that you're on 123 Main Street, that makes a huge difference. So even I've noticed with some of these contractors, like they don't have any presence. There's nothing tangible about them. But if you have a website, if you have a Google My Business page that's built out with your phone number, with your website, with your address, with photos of your product, of your workmanship, of your location, if you have a physical location, those sorts of things are going to set you apart from the competition. A lot of these contractors, maybe you can find them on Yelp, like maybe. But if you have that stuff, which is not hard to do, even a Facebook page that's well maintained, it's not hard to do. It's really going to set you apart. So we've worked really hard on being present online and then being present in the physical as well by opening up some of these locations. And that's helped us a lot as far as getting the traffic that we need. And then I can get into, if you'd like, some of the internal, how we handle calls once they come in, what we do. Because just because someone calls you doesn't mean that you're going to make the sale.
Right.
And so what you do from there is really, really important.
Yeah, we'll get into that here in a second for sure. We were just talking about this today, actually, on my coaching call with some clients about, how important is it for a website and stuff. And I'm like, it's absolutely crucial, right? It adds legitimacy to your business. Everything that you do, like you said, the Google business listing adds legitimacy. If you have an actual physical address of a shop or office, that adds legitimacy. If you have a website, you have social media, Facebook page and all that stuff, all those things just add legitimacy to your business, because if you have all of those things, you're not hiding from anyone, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like you're going to take somebody's deposit and then disappear, right? Which is the company that has none of those things and literally has no anchor to like any kind of accountability or responsibility. Like, those are the ones that can just take your money and then they just move out of state the next day, right? A company that has that built up is definitely going to have the reputation and the legitimacy, adds legitimacy to your business. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah,
absolutely. You have to have a website. It is not hard to do it. It's 2025. There's so many ways that you can start a website now. It's not difficult. And the value add is, like, if you're a contractor and you're listening right now, just stop and go and get a website and then come back and resume the podcast. It's just so valuable. It's gonna make such a big difference.
It's funny that you said you were a tech first company, because I am also a tech first company. And so I was just talking about this today. When I started my construction company in 2009, websites were just kind of a new thing. Most, like 99% of the companies didn't even have websites, right? But some, the big ones did. Like Apple, or not Apple, but like Microsoft had a website, and Yahoo and all these different things. But I had a website. Like, I was one of the first ones, probably the first one in my town, contractor, that had a website, because I was very tech first kind of, mentality. And it helped me.
Awesome.
I mean, that's what helped me move first into really, I wouldn't say dominating, but really like beating out a lot of competition, like doing well with brand, is because I was always tech first. So now we have AI, right? Like, if you're not on the AI train right now, you're probably going to be left behind. Yeah. Right. That's always constantly changing. So good points on that. Okay. So sales. I love the fact that you said like a value add, because I talk about that all the time, value stacking, adding value to the process. So, but when you first started, like, who was doing the initial sales?
My father.
He was doing it all. He was just the one, like, kind of the one-man show, taking the sales, doing deliveries and all that stuff.
Yeah, trying to run the business and also doing sales, and slowly started hiring more salespeople. But it can be hard to do, because if you don't have processes in place and you just hire someone, you stick them in a seat, you say, okay, go and sell.
Yeah.
And they might be a salesperson. They might not. A lot of times people don't even know how to hire salespeople. They think that just because you're friendly means you can sell, which is not true. Can be. But anyway, so just because you hire a salesperson, you put them in, it doesn't mean they're going to know how to sell your product. They're going to know how to sell according to your processes, that you're giving them qualified leads. If you're a contractor and you focus on condos and you don't do single family residences, but you focus on renovating condos, and you've got a salesperson and you're somehow attracting single family residence leads, they're not going to sell anything. They have the wrong leads. So then your marketing needs to get figured out. So you've got the right leads coming into you, which would come back to your website. You have the right services listed on your website or your Google My Business page.
Right.
If you want to make it more simple, or your Facebook page, you have the right types of services. So I started out with my father just selling and slowly was able to add some people. But as that happens, like as your business grows, you think of it like, I think of it like a stick framing, like a house. Right. Or kind of like, house of cards sort of thing. You have that, and there's a little bit of pressure when you're a little business. And when it's maybe just you and a couple other people, there's a little bit of pressure on those weakness points in the framing or the house of cards, right? There's a little pressure. But then as you grow and get bigger, there's a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
And those little problems get very, very exposed, and little problems become big problems. And so then you think, well, I could just hire a couple of salespeople and they're going to sell. Yeah, but that's not necessarily the case. You have to figure out what is keeping them from selling. And that might look like you've got the wrong customers coming through the door, you've got the wrong product, or you've got the right product, but just a terrible execution. And so if you get upset at that salesperson and like you can't sell and you fire them, that might not even be their fault.
Right.
You replace them with another salesperson and you'll have the same problem, because the issue could be your process or something else. So we've had a ton of exposure through salespeople and just learning that we've needed to refine a lot.
This is such a great point, because I hear a lot of times, contractors like, I just hate the selling. If I could just hire a salesperson and I could do the project management, or I could be on the tools, or I could do all this other stuff, that'd be great. But they don't want to learn how to sell. And it's like, that's not really how it works. I mean, yes, you can hire someone who has sales experience and they may be able to come in and actually, have some success with that. But if you don't have a sales process, right? And then you want the salesperson to come in and basically create the sales process for you. That's a different skill set than actually selling, right? And so you could take a rock star, maybe one of your sales guys who's highly trained and and works for you and does a great job, and I'm like, hey, somehow I attract him away from you and he's going to come work for me, right? But I have no sales process. Like, I have no leads coming in. I have no CRM to track that. If I take a highly talented salesperson from one environment and then put him into an environment that sucks, they're not going to do well, right? Yeah. Like they may do a little bit better than you, because if you're not a good salesman, but they're not going to perform at the exact same level where they came from, because you basically took them out of a highly optimized environment, put giant handcuffs on them, right? And then said, now perform just as well. And so it just doesn't work like that. But you guys have done, like you said, you spent a lot of time through trial and error, figuring out we got to do this. And now, like, you spend a lot of time and energy on sales training. You bring in sales people. You've probably figured out certain characteristics, certain skill sets.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Talk about that for a little bit. Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs, and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates, and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease, and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is, you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, so we have a very refined hiring process. So I've also had to learn how to hire people, because there are a lot of ways that things can go wrong with a new hire, so to speak. It could be a reflection of the company, or it could be a reflection of the hire. Typically, I want to take extreme responsibility, and if someone doesn't succeed at their position, that's me. That's my fault. I hired wrong, I trained wrong, whatever. That's on me. My processes aren't right. In most cases, that's a perspective that I want to take, because if I don't take that perspective, then I might just repeat the same thing over and over and over again if I'm blaming somebody else. So the first finger that I'm going to point at me, right? And so then what we've learned is, when we hire our salespeople, we really need to know what we are looking for exactly, but we didn't know that to start. We really didn't have any idea. Like, you're friendly, sure.
Yeah.
Assessments have been such a huge benefit to us, and further understanding what is being assessed, because I can assess somebody and look for certain skill sets and traits. And we've had a couple sales assessments that we've worked with, one in particular that's really, really stood out to us. And it has absolutely just energized our hiring process and catapulted our success rate. Now we know who we're hiring. I'll have them take this assessment before I even do a phone interview, which is before I even bring them in for an in-person interview. I'll have them take an assessment. And then when they come in for that in-person interview, I test the results of that assessment, and it's astonishingly accurate. And that has helped me so much to know I've got someone who actually, like brass tacks, they know how to sell. And then I can see that performance reflected I can see the results of that assessment reflected in their performance. And when they're actually brought on board, I can see, yeah, this person does really well with discussing money, or this person does really, really well with handling rejection. That someone can cuss them out and hang up on them. Next call. They're not even worried about it. So that's been so important for us, learning how to hire right. Because if I don't hire right, I basically have an arm behind my back from the start. If I got the wrong person, I'm already at a disadvantage, and it's really, really hard to figure out what's wrong when your variables are not strong, when they're just so inconsistent. But if I've got all really good salespeople and things are not performing the way they are, it's probably not the salespeople. But if my salespeople are all over the board, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going wrong. I don't know why numbers weren't up this month or whatever, right? So hiring right has been so huge for us, and using some sales assessments has been an absolute game changer.
You told me before what it was. What can you share what the assessment is, the name?
Yeah, Objective Management Group. So if you just look up OMG Sales Assessment or Objective Management Group Sales Assessment, they'll get you on with one of their distributors or partners or dealers. I'm not sure the term they use, but it's been super, super valuable for us having salespeople take the test. Because like I said, a lot of times you just hire someone because they're friendly, but that's actually a weakness. Oh, they'll buy from me because I'm their friend. That is a self-limiting belief.
That's most contractors, man. I just got to get in front of them. If I can get in front of them, they're going to like me. You know, the main people like me.
Yeah, that's not it. You're not selling. You're not. And like, if you are selling, it's because that person would buy from anybody. Or
because you just happen to be the cheapest person there. And like, it's like, well, you're really nice and you're cheap. Sign me up. I'll buy from you.
Yeah. You're a sucker, really.
Yeah.
It's basically, I don't want to be rude, but yeah.
No, that's what it is. Yeah, I call them losers.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Because you're the one losing, right? Like when you're doing that, you're, as a contractor, you're the one losing. So good stuff. Okay, so got some points here. Obviously, we got to assess salespeople. Talk us a little bit about your like process. Like how do you get leads coming? Not how you do it, but when a lead comes in, I know you have like people that answer the phone. Do they set appointments? Do you tell us a little bit about how your sales structure is set up?
Yeah. So we have a call center fully staffed from about 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. And
is that in-house or like a third party?
It's in-house. So important. You not third party. Cannot. Yeah. There's no way. It's worth the money to have in-house, and it's not a lot of money to bring people on. Call center is not a super expensive position, but it's a very important position. And so we pay better than average because of how important that position is. They answer, someone calls in for the first time, they answer it within seconds. You can test it right now if you wanted to, and you'd see them answer. And then what they'll do is they'll qualify that customer, because I have our home specialists. They're waiting to receive a call from a customer, no matter what they want. They want a single wide, they want a double wide, they want a modular home, or they want new construction, which is something that we're getting into. So my call center's there. They're answering calls every single day. Once they qualify that customer, some customers, they just don't have any hope. They don't have land, they don't have money, but they're calling. And hey, we'll love on them. We'll let them know what they need to do to potentially be able to purchase a home, but we're just going to end the conversation right there, and they understand it. Other customers, and this is really important, because it's very obvious at this stage who's qualified and who's not qualified. But qualifying your customer is so valuable. And once we find someone who they have land, because those are the customers we're looking for, we don't sell land. They have land and they either have credit score with some money down, or they're all cash. We send that through to a home specialist. Then what the home specialist does is they qualify that customer. And like I said, this is super important. It's really obvious at the beginning who is and isn't qualified. Hey, you don't have land, you don't have money. Okay, sorry, love you, not going to work. But as you get further in, it's not as clear. And this is where sales really comes in. Having someone who can take that customer and qualify them, because I want to sell to someone who's my customer. I do not want to sell ice to an Eskimo. I don't want to do that. And an Eskimo doesn't need ice. And so if you're, let's bring it to the contractors, right? If you're there and they just need to know how to sell, contractors need to know how to sell. If you're there standing in the kitchen with a customer, okay, so you happen to answer your phone, because most contractors don't even answer, but thank the Lord, you answer your phone, you land a quote. All right, so you're there to go ahead and give a quote to the customer. The husband and wife are there, and they want to renovate the kitchen. The first thing that I would do, I'm asking questions. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving pricing. I'm not just explaining everything and just information overloading the customer. I'm asking questions. Yeah. People do it all the time. I hear it all the time. You go to your local mattress place. Go to your local car dealership. They're gonna word vomit you, and your head's gonna spin. I went shopping for flooring with my wife the other week, and the guy was just all this information that I don't care about. But if he stopped and he asked me questions, he would know what I care about, and then it's not even selling. It's just like, because contractors might need to have that perspective shift. It's not selling. It's the term that we use because people understand what we're talking about. But all it is just presenting, oh, this is what you want. Here you go.
Consulting. I call it consulting.
Yeah, like there, that's what you want. So if I'm in the kitchen there with the husband and wife, I'm going to ask questions. Hey, so what's your vision here? Okay, great. What's important to you? Do you have any deal breakers? What's the budget? How did you come to that budget? Why are you deciding to do this now? If you wait 6 months, is there going to be any problem? Is this something that's urgent for you? I'm asking all of those questions to find out, okay, they don't want this, they do want that, maybe they'll take this over here. I figure then at the very end, I present my best solution based on what they've said. And as contractors, you will land so many more jobs if you ask the right questions, so you make sure you're not presenting something that the customer doesn't care about. And so that's what our salespeople do. After that call center call is received, they qualify that customer on like a base level. They send them through to our salespeople, our home consultants, and they'll find out, do you need a big double wide or do you need a little single wide? What's your price point? What are your must-haves? All those sorts of things. And they make sure that that customer is someone who works with us and that we can actually provide them what's going to be best for them. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I don't want to sell ice to an Eskimo. And if someone just doesn't work with our model, like I don't want to, if they're looking for a custom home, I'm not going to try and convince them to go with a double wide. I'm just not. So, hey, you want a custom home, man? That's go for it. Absolutely. There are other customers for me, and there's a builder out there for you. And then we leave it at that.
Yeah, it would be really nice if there was like some kind of program that would teach contractors how to do sales, and make a lot of money. Oh, wait, there is one.
Yeah.
You said something that I wrote down, and I'm going to steal it from you. I'm not even asking for permission.
Go for it. Hey, Finn. Don't even have to
it's really just a phrase that you use. You said love on them.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that term of love on them. I've never used it in that capacity, but I always tell my clients, like, hey, just because someone is not your client doesn't mean that their brother can't be their client.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they're actually, it's the mayor's daughter and you just took a big crap on them and hung up on them.
Yeah.
You don't think she's going to go tell her uncle, like, the mayor, and he can't make your life miserable. And you're like, you just don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost anything to, as you said, love on them through the process, even if you can't help them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I love that. I wrote it down, love on them.
I think what's really good, and this is especially for contractors, referrals are huge. With mobile homes, there's not as many people that have a piece of property they want to put a mobile home on, right?
It's a unique situation.
It's a little more unique. We still do get referrals, but with contracting, I mean, I can think of a number of people I know right now who would say, yeah, I would really like to have a new floor here, a new vinyl floor, a new tile, or I'd really like to have a deck out the back of my house. I could think of so many people like that. And so if you're loving on that person, if you're just polite to them, if you're taking care of them the way they need to be, and then you can ask for that referral. And the way that you would do that is you describe the customer that you're looking for. Because if you just point blank hit them with, hey, do you know anybody else who wants a new deck? They may or they may not. But if you say, hey, do you know anyone else who, they have their house and they've been looking to maybe upgrade something in their house, who they'd like a better space out back, somewhere where they can put their grill or do an above ground hot tub or whatever, right? If you describe that, the customer and like the pain points maybe of why that customer wants that improvement. Hey, do you know anyone else who their kitchen is maybe a little outdated and they've been wondering about just kind of bringing it up to speed, bringing it to look a little bit more modern? That's going to get you a referral. And because there are so many people that need renovations or additions or what have you, you almost wouldn't even have to advertise as a contractor. You really, unless you want it to be really, really big, which is fine, go for it.
Right.
You shouldn't even really need to advertise. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I feel there's so much referral business out there that you could, if you do it right, you can get it.
Yes, there is. And ultimately, referrals are the best source of lead. If you're new and starting out, like you don't have enough clientele to get enough referrals. So like when you're first starting out, you need to market a little bit. You got a brand, you got to network, you got to do some of that. But everybody loves a referral. I mean, who doesn't love a referral, right? That's like almost a guaranteed sell for most people. So, we were talking about this recently too, about the customer experience, because we're actually doing Monday, this coming Monday, recording this coming Monday. We are, I'm doing a workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop on how to build a kick-ass customer journey that they won't stop talking about. Mm-hmm. Right. And so like, that's part of it. Like you're saying that you answer the phone within 2 seconds or 2 rings or whatever. Yeah. And then you have someone who's there to answer questions. And then if they're qualified, they move them on, move them further down the line. And we didn't get into any of this, but I'm sure you have like follow-up emails and, communication, outreach, text, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're doing that as well. And so like, if you build this amazing experience and someone doesn't want to buy from you for whatever reason, timing, price, whatever, and they go check other options, and they have a terrible experience, the whole time they're going to be thinking about you. Yeah. Because they had such an amazing experience that a lot of times, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months down the road, they actually come back to you and end up buying from you anyways, because they had to go out and experience, inferior contractors or inferior companies' experiences before they recognize like, oh man, you're amazing. Like, yes. And so you're building raving fans, basically, is what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. You want to have an experience, and this is how our perspective is at Home Nation. I want to have an experience so phenomenal, they don't even think about going somewhere else. It's like when you talk to that contractor, when you talk to that, representative at whatever company for whatever you want to buy, like you go in and you want to buy the car, and it's such a fantastic experience from the very beginning, and you're driving the car and you're loving it. You do not think about going to the next car dealership. You're like, this is it. It's the one I'm going to buy. That's it. Just like, no, that's it. It's an emotional investment, and then you'll justify it logically. Like that's how we make decisions as humans. But that's what we want to have at Home Nation. Such a fantastic customer experience that customers they're not even going to bother to call the next person.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what you want. But even if for whatever reason they don't buy with you, right, then they're comparing you to the others.
Absolutely.
Like,
they'll recognize like, yeah, those other guys, they have nothing on Home Nation. They couldn't answer my questions. They didn't treat me politely. They didn't answer with a smile on their face. Like, I'm going back to Home Nation. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that's right. I think the best illustration of this in mainstream that's absolutely destroying this concept right now is the Savannah Bananas.
Oh yeah.
Joaquin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow him, Jesse, or any of those. Like, they are fan first centric, and like,
it's hilarious.
And it's so like they're absolutely obsessed with that experience.
I love it.
And now it's taking a little bit of time, to get kind of build this up. But now they're selling out entire stadiums and literally beating professional baseball, MLB baseball team out of, fans and audience and all that stuff.
No, I want to go see them. They haven't come down here to Florida that I've been aware of, but I've looked them up. I think they're in Georgia or something.
I'm not sure where they're at, but I've just been watching a lot of his, because he does a lot of like social media content stuff, and I watch a lot of his stuff. Of course, he wears a yellow suit. That's his purple cow. It's a yellow suit.
Yeah.
But it's just phenomenal. If you listen to his stuff and his interviews and podcasts and things that he's on, it's like it's blatantly obvious that their success is because they're so obsessed with the experience.
I love that.
Right. Not the product. Like, the baseball guys, they're probably pretty good, AAA level type baseball player, but that's not what they're obsessed on. They're obsessed on the experience. Right? That there's never a dull moment like this, the whole fan for. And if you make your business, like you're saying, you want them to have such a great experience that they don't even think about it going anywhere else.
Yeah.
That is a blue ocean opportunity right now in contracting across the board, because most contractors, they only care about, look at how well I built X. Look at how good my hand skills are, how good of a craftsman I am.
Yeah.
And that's not what people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about the experience.
Yeah,
and you guys have done a great job of doing that.
No, thank you. And we've worked really hard for it.
So we're coming close to finishing this up here. What is, what's a question I should have asked you, or something that you think is important that we didn't cover?
I just want to highlight again the importance of sales training. There are plenty of other great things that could talk about processes and figuring out how to, finding where your issues are and solving those, and what issues you just decide like, hey, we're going to let that burn. We're going to let that fire burn. That's okay. I have something else I need to look at right now. And that's a skill set in itself. Being able to identify because a lot of times the urgent things can take precedent over the important things because it's just so urgent. But being able to say, hey, no, I'm going to focus on this over here because I need to focus on this. That's such a huge skill set. So we could talk about all that sort of stuff, but I just want to highlight sales training. Just a little bit of sales training will set you apart from the pack. You will be leagues above other people at just a little bit of sales training. Like pain, decision, budget. What's your pain? How do you make your decisions? And then what's your budget? And those break down into other categories on how to understand it. But even just that simple concept, find out their pain, find out their decision-making process, find out their budget. That will make a huge difference. So just want to highlight that, because we are all selling. I don't care what you're doing, you're selling. Job interview, you're selling. Contracting, you're selling. Homes, you're selling. Apple, they're selling. They're selling you on their ad. Kellogg's, Fruit Loops, they're selling you that they've got the best cereal. Like, everything is sales and marketing, like presenting, being presentable, what you're communicating. Like that is just in and out. That's how we are wired as creatures, as humans. That's how we're wired. We're looking at things and we're understanding things, and we're making judgment calls on whether we like it or not. When you're walking down the street, when you're driving your car. So we're communicating and perceiving information. And so what are you as a contractor, for those listening to this, like, what are you communicating to your customer? When you drive up to the job site, you don't have to have the fanciest vehicle. You don't have to have like brand new da-da-da, but what are you communicating? In your language that you're using, in your posture, how you're treating people, how quickly you respond to them. What are you communicating? And a lot of that is we're just missing the mark because we're not even focusing, but just giving it a little bit of attention. If you focus on it, you'll absolutely just break through the gates. But if even just give it a little bit of attention, it'll make such a big difference. So I would say that just sales training and how we're communicating, what we're communicating, this would make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, and just to add on to that, like I agree 100% with everything you just said, but even like what you're not communicating, right? Like what you should be and not communicating, the nonverbal communication, right?
Yeah.
You were saying like you have great reviews and then you show up in a rusted out truck and, a t-shirt with holes in it and jeans, you're communicating, right? Like you're selling yourself that you don't care about your image and that's that important to you. And you're always communicating and selling something.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it's like contractors that say, I don't want to have to sell. I don't want to do that. Well, you're selling whether or not you want to.
Exactly.
And in the way that you're communicating, you are selling. And so what are you selling? Boy, you might as well be intentional about it so you can be good at it because you're selling whether you want to or not.
It's like they romanticize about a version of owning a contracting business that doesn't actually exist, where they don't have to sell anything. And then like someone just fills out a form on their website and then is like, here's a blank checkbook, just get it done and bill me when you're done, and you don't have to sell me. Like that doesn't exist in the real world.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So like you have to, these are skills you have to learn. This is why I teach sales, right? Yeah. Because this is, like you said, even if you give it a little bit of attention, but think about when you give it a lot of attention and you're focused on learning how to be a good salesman. I mean, you could just destroy your competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like leave them in the dust.
And the comforting thing, if you could use that term, everyone else is in the same spot because it's not easy for anybody else. There's not someone who's cracked the code. Right, everyone else is in the same spot where they're starting a business, they're running a business, they got to figure out how to sell, and it's not always fun. It's not super glamorous all the time.
No, but I will tell you this: if you actually get good at sales, it does become fun.
Oh, it does. I love it. I live for it. I love it. I love communication. I love sales. I love marketing. I love processes, figuring that stuff out. I love it. It's not always the most enjoyable. Like it's not always the most exciting. I don't like it when things go wrong, but I like to fix it. So, and I like the outcome because it's a better experience for me. It's a better experience for the customer.
Yeah. I would even say like, even if you're not doing the sales, if you're an owner and you have people that are going to do sales, you as the owner should take sales training.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like even like maybe you first and then you bring your salespeople on, or even at the same time, but like you should have a basic understanding of sales, because the thing people don't realize either is that like sales and what we're really talking about is communication, right? Effective communication.
Right. Yes.
It transfers over into your relationships. It transfers into your employees. It transfers into your spouse, your kids, the cashier lady, the Uber driver, like all of that. It just transfers across all areas of life. So why wouldn't you want to learn how to become a great communicator?
Yeah. For sure. I agree with that. Oh, absolutely.
I can't think of any reason.
No, I can't. I can't. We were apprehensive to sales at the start.
Sure.
We were just because we don't need that stuff or consultant. I mean, I'm as a rule, I'm hesitant with consultants because a lot of them are just, the bad apple, ruins the bunch.
They're full of crap.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's just what it is.
I'll say it.
Yeah. So we were apprehensive to it, man. Once we did it though, I'm just like, how dumb was I to be apprehensive to sales? How stupid. And I have salespeople and I was apprehensive to sales training. Like that's just ridiculous looking back on it. So I hope that the people listening would take the effort to go ahead and do some sales training because it will make a huge difference.
100%. You got to sell me on that. So, but Quinton, I always ask all my guests this question. What's a book that you're currently reading or one that you would recommend?
For me, I read my Bible a lot and I read and pray, and that slows me down and quiets me. There's a lot of noise in the world. There's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of noise on your phone, a lot of noise online, and being able to think clearly and not have distractions is huge for me. So some people, they might want to meditate or what have you, but for me, there's so much wisdom in scripture, in the Bible, that's what I go to. And to me, business is two things. It's relationships and it's wisdom. You need to know how to manage people. And a lot of that looks like sales. So if you're a business owner that doesn't like people, then you may have picked the wrong profession, right? And then it's wisdom, being able to make the right decision. And so I find a lot of that wisdom through reading the Bible.
Absolutely. It's funny. It's like you're listening to our conversations all day today, because on our call, my coaching call, one of my clients was talking about just some anxiety and stuff that he was going through and some other things. And I said, well, here, let me just, quote from, or not quote, let me just read from one of the best books ever. Like, do you guys know what it is? And they were like, oh, your book. And I'm like, well, no, it's a good guess, but
Yeah.
And so, but then eventually I was like, no. And I had my Bible, held it up to the camera, and I was like, Matthew 6:34, which is, why worry about tomorrow? Like, when today's not even over yet. Right. And so, like, yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. There's a lot of wisdom in there.
Yeah. Regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your belief in deity, God and Jesus and what have you, there's just a ton of wisdom in there. Just read the book of Proverbs.
100%.
The book of Proverbs is just so much wisdom.
I've read the book of Proverbs probably 50 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's good every time.
I read it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is like a business book, really.
Totally.
I mean, the book of Proverbs is like a business book. So awesome. Well, Quinton, thanks so much for hanging out with me and sharing a bunch of your knowledge and wisdom and what you've done in the business. If people are interested in, the company, like, well, for one, if they're interested in getting in touch with you about being on your contractor list, but maybe they also may be interested in getting, a modular mobile home.
Yeah.
What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, great. Just go to homenation.com. Call us 1-800-HOME-NATION. We're there. The call center's ringing right now through the door. I can hear them. They're talking. So you call them right now. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, and eventually I'll have people answering at nighttime at 2 a.m. Because believe it or not, people call at that time and different time zones, right? So yeah, just go to homenation.com and give us a ring, 1-800-HOME-NATION.
Awesome. All right, Quinton, thanks again for being on the show. Guys, that's the end of the show. You know where to find me and the rest of my information. Just search for the socials at Hammer Grind Podcast, or go to the show notes to get links to everything. And remember, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.